Hey guys, it's Bronte here. Um, and yeah, it's just me today on the mic. Becca and I decided to drop a rant this week because we couldn't drop one of our regular episodes on Monday because of our busy schedules. And as you guys know, we are in nursing school. So we have exams and clinicals, and now we're in the middle of the semester now, so it's all kind of compounding, and it is our last semester, so the work is just ridiculous. It's just me today, so I haven't been on the mic solo since my other episode explaining or giving my reasons about why an ex deletes photos of you. So if you haven't heard that one, go check that one out and go check out Becca's Rants. I feel like she's better at these than I am. But I basically put the poll out on social media about topics to talk about, and the one that got the most attention was the toxic coworkers. So I am going to be covering that one today. And I had trouble trying to figure out how or what direction I just wanted to go with this, but I feel like I'm just going to talk about them in general because for me personally, I've had a lot of working experience so far. I'm 28 now, but since 16, I've had jobs serving, working in labs, researching, working in hospitals, and I've come across so many different types of people so far. And what I would say is, when you work at a job for a very long time and you work long hours with the same amount of people, you develop a family orientation. You love those people. I know in bartending and serving, we would work 60, 70-hour weeks with the same people, and they do become family. So I don't want to say every single person that I have worked with is toxic, but you definitely get to experience the different type of work personalities. So it's yeah, it's been a trip. That's all I got to say. But if you're ever dealing with a toxic coworker, it is very difficult. And it makes it even more difficult if they are impeding on the work ethic of the team or you individually. And sometimes there's no explanation for it. Sometimes they are bullies, sometimes they have something going on, sometimes that's just the personality, and it's sad. But at the same time, maybe half the time they don't even realize that they're doing it, or it is just their personality. But I have come across just straight, uh, lack of the better word, assholes in the work industry, and it's face fact. That is how it's going to be. I wish everyone was awesome and got along with everyone, but that's not the case. So, in my experience, in focusing on the serving and the bartending jobs, they are grueling. If any one of you have worked in a restaurant or the food industry, I would always suggest, and maybe you guys would agree with me, the people should go and work in the food industry at least for 6 months to understand. But there, and in my time, I've worked at like four different restaurants, bartending and serving, and mostly I have made such great connections and friends with those people. It's like a blood bond almost. But some of my most toxic work relationships have come out of there. And I don't know what this is. I don't know if anyone would agree with me on this. There's like this competition that happens. And that happened at one job where I bartended at for a couple years. And it just was like it was a competition to get behind the bar. It was a competition to be I I don't, top tier, I guess. Basically, that's just you making schedules and covering shifts when people call out. When really I felt like I had no idea why that was like the maker of all. Like, I really didn't understand it. I just wanted to go in, work as hard as I could, and have a good time doing it with people that I enjoyed working with. But in my personal experience, just having and dealing with a toxic work environment makes it very hard. I don't I don't like rumors, and I don't like spreading any of that around. But I mean, one of the reasons why I left my one job was because of just rumors, and just it was just a cycle of just toxicity, especially when you bartended. It was just, it became also compounding. So how do you deal with something like that? And it was unfortunate for me, actually, personally, because me and this one coworker actually really got along and really worked well together. But she went through a lot of things, and yeah, basically took it out on me and had like an attitude problem. Like, but I mean, she was an awesome person to talk to and an awesome work partner. But it was really hard standing behind there 18 hours in this confined cubicle space dealing with that. But how do you deal with something like that? Honestly, don't stoop to their level. It is hard to remain calm. And minus the stress of work, it is so hard to put yourself out of that, or pull yourself out of that, and just remain calm, cool, and respectful. It really made it hard. It actually got so hard, I had to go talk to the managers about, lightening up my schedule, because it just seemed like her and I were always on the same days, which I wanted it to function smoothly, but it, my God, it got really hard at some points. But honestly, when you're in something like that, just remain calm, cool, and collective. Go talk to a manager, go talk to your supervisor. Don't stoop to their level, because freaking out, half the time it's what they want anyway. Um, but it's just not even worth it. Don't even expend your energy. When it really starts to get bad, and what I've experienced, is when rumors and gossiping starts. I hate that. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I've been caught up in it too. I'm not like Little Miss Innocent, but in talking about it, I don't go and spread things about it, or I don't make up anything about it, I should say. And that just started to get really bad. And it was almost like we kind of lost a sense of like who we were. It almost was like we were this like unit group. And I'm talking about all of us. Like when you work nights, night after night with the same people, cooks, servers, whatever, bartenders, you do become a family. So sometimes I'm like, it became like this whole big competition, and like a high school almost. Not even a high school. It was like a middle school. It was ridiculous. Some of these rumors, people getting into people's personal lives, love lives, it, people hooking up with people, and people talking about it later and then talking crap on them. Like, it was just so toxic, and it almost just got so tiring. And I think that's why I phased out of a couple jobs, because it just got old. And it really is a shame. So in my advice, knowing how to deal with a toxic coworker, you either confront them, and if that doesn't work, just, my biggest advice is don't stoop to their level and act the same way they are. Try and find the root of the problem. If it's disrupting your workflow, then you go talk to a server and a manager. I'm telling you guys, it got so bad. I don't know what was specifically wrong with this one person, but it was like, oh, sorry, you can't go on your vacation. What? First of all, you don't approve of that. That's what I mean. When you're specifically getting targeted, um, that's where the line needs to be drawn. And, if you do not feel comfortable going up to them and talking to them, you need to get another person like your supervisor and your boss. Don't get your friends to gang up on them. Like, who are you? Don't stoop to their level. Go and seek that help. Another side I want to talk about is when I transitioned out of the serving and hospitality business. I came on more full time to the lab job that I worked at, and I actually became a manager there. And one of the head scientists, I guess I would say, it was a different dynamic. I've never really dealt with anything like this before, but I mean, he was going through personal things, and it really disrupted his work. But it was almost like it was so hard to describe. I don't want to completely put this person's information out there, but it almost like he was going through so much, it disrupted his work, where nothing would get done. And we had big projects coming down the line, so having to deal with that, dealing with his anger issues, mood swings, his invasiveness. It was very invasive at one point. Um, Uncomfortable. Uh, so this was toxic in a different way. It wasn't so much like bullying and gossiping, it was more so anger and a feeling of just being uncomfortable and him not doing certain tasks and it falls on you and then you become angry because it's how he's acting towards the job. And then every week it was something like he was mad this wasn't done and this wasn't done and this wasn't done, when he is equally as capable of doing it. um, it was just compounding, and it was toxic in a different way because our lab was so small. It really disrupted the team, and it was really hard. And a lot of things that I've learned as like a managerial role is, balancing the needs and the emotions of the team that I work with in conjunction with or as a result of someone acting a certain way. And when it's a small confined space like that, when you have that going on, it doesn't make the workflow flow. So that was something that we really needed to combat. And at a number of points, it just exploded. I exploded, coworkers have exploded, and it was justified, don't get me wrong. But it came to the point where he still didn't get it. It was all about him. He was just so consumed about what was going on in his life, he didn't realize. And it was always something weekly, like trying to get him to understand like where we're coming from. And it just, there was this resistance. I don't know if any one of you have like felt that. It was like people were on their toes almost. They didn't know whether he was going to be angry, like angry to the point where he would like throw things. That's what I mean. He would throw things. You just felt like, he had all this pent up anger and no one feels really comfortable around that. Like you would see his like fists clench. That's what I mean. Like, and it was just that sort of environment. So it's like, how do you deal with that? That is very, very difficult because when you feel uneasy like that, you really need to go to the upper heads at that point. You need to talk to people and get that sorted and have them talk to him. It did get better in some areas, but it didn't really improve. But I mean, he is no longer with us. But during that time, it was really difficult. Like there are no words. Like it came to this one point. We were all at this, we had monthly meetings, and I mean, everyone was at those meetings. Interns, high school volunteers, our lab technicians, managers, everyone, and we would update as a department. And pretty much we were all thrown under the bus. Him making excuses of to why you know, his jobs didn't get done, basically blaming us for it. And that makes you feel some type of way, having that type of coworker, like not owning up to a lot of the things that weren't done when they were his jobs. And that created a resentment. So I remember specifically that day, it was like about 9 of us, when everyone was just expressing their feelings. I'm talking like even the high school interns were upset. Like it was just so degrading because when you're working as a team, that's a different dynamic. Like, when all of these like projects are due, it's really important for that dynamic to stay solid. When it's like, you know, anybody, everybody, somebody, nobody, there was an important job and everybody was sure that somebody would do it and anybody could have done it, but nobody did it, and that's why I couldn't get it done. That sort of stuff. It was complete neglect and realization of what was going on around him and what the bigger picture was. It wasn't all about him. It was a team dynamic. So when you have a toxic coworker like that, it's very, very difficult to handle. And I feel like, you have to go to the upper heads for that. That is not your business to like get all up in that, but unfortunately I did find myself in the middle of that because it seemed like he would have these explosions. I'm talking about like meltdowns. And then it would be like the next day or overnight he would be texting me. There would be handwritten notes, and not just me, other people. But you just never knew like how he was going to act. And that is a toxic work environment coworker trait. And it was almost at the point where I felt bad, but at the same time, I was coming home exhausted because I didn't know how he was going to act. I didn't know how he was going to react. And that is toxic. Just handling that. Like who wants to handle that? And it was the constant like, oh, the reason why I did this was because of this, and like I felt this some sort of way, and la 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 la. And it goes back to the whole point. Stop being so self-absorbed and realize the team around you. When the team is disrupted, the work is disrupted. And that's what I really learned being a manager, because people would come to me being like, yo, we have got to talk about so and so. Another one that just came to mind was my lab, we were working with this one guy who was a complete sexist. I've come across sexist people, but I've worked fine with them. I've never in my life have dealt with this sort of person, and he was a clear sexist. At one point, he told my one coworker to go take out the trash while she was working in the lab. And this is why I love her. She was like, I don't know who you're talking to, but that's not me. You can go take out the trash. He even came up to me saying that I shouldn't touch certain things, that this should be his responsibility, that I should hand over my projects to him for him to improve. One, I've been at this company for 12 years. 2, I was assigned these projects because I can handle them. 3, he just wasn't qualified to do them. But to have someone verbally demean you because of your sex is one of the worst feelings in the world. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a violent person, but in the moment, I just wanted to sock him, and it was the greatest feeling because I knew I probably could and knock him out. But again, how do you deal with that? I mean, if I was my 15, 16-year-old self, I would shy away and probably go tell someone. But I'm not afraid now to maturely and respectfully tell someone that they are in the wrong for how they're acting. But as long as you are respectful and you watch your tone, that's a true craft. And I remember, I will tell you the story, guys. So he took me around the lab, let alone, just to be clear, he was here for 6 weeks at this point. And he told me what I couldn't touch, what I could touch, what I should just like do and not do, and I should just get out of his way, and I let him finish. He went on for about 30 minutes. And this is kind of a little bit out of my character, but I was just so mad and so over it at this point. I just said, so and so, I hear what you're saying, but every single request you are saying is unreasonable. And if you have any, further problems, this is something for upper management to handle. But if you ever talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old again, we are going to have further problems. And I left it at that. You don't have to say, I'm going to kill you, because, that's prone to like a lawsuit and a firing. But just saying we will have problems, meaning I don't want to get upper management involved about this. I'm too mature for this. But when you have someone just blatantly demean you to your face, I would be in a conversation with other scientists that worked there, and he would completely just cut me off and have a conversation like as if I was a wall. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And it's a shame seeing that. And that's another tough one. If you are willing and are able, and you're confident that you will remain mature and respectful, by all means speak up. If you don't, again, go and talk to someone about it. But you don't have to stand for that. Ladies, don't stand for that. Like, come on. And guys, don't stand for that when women are being sexist. Like, come on. Like, I'm not going to rule you guys out. But I've just dealt with a lot of different kinds, and I'm still dealing with it to this day. It is absolutely insane. Every single one of my coworkers that I've had the pleasure of working with knows what kind of stories we have. And all of my coworkers that I've had in the lab, yeah, labs have stories as well. It's not just all hospital workers and the hospitality workers. Every job has those work personalities, but it's all about how you handle them will truly make the outcome better or worse. But yeah, I really could go on and on about this topic. I relate way too well with this topic. Whether you find yourself in the middle on purpose or not, it is something that you deal with. So if you want to hear more about this topic or how you can handle toxic coworkers or what has worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, or if you want to hear more stories, I've got plenty of them for you. Sorry if this was all over the place, but I truly had no idea where to begin with this. I just knew I wanted to do this topic, but I think this is a good point to end here. But again, if you want to hear more, let me know. Message me through Instagram or through Facebook. But yeah, make sure you still check out our weekly drops on Monday for the Slowly Dying podcast. Becca and I are working diligently to bank episodes, and we're excited about the topics to come up in the next couple weeks. We're excited about every topic, but you know what I mean. But yes, please join us. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on YouTube if you don't like any of those other platforms. We have a Facebook, Instagram. We have TikTok. Becca's rolling with the TikTok, and I love it. So yeah, we're everywhere. So just let us know if you want to ever hear anything more from us or individually on our rants. And yeah, I'm going to catch you next time, guys. But I got to go eat something because I'm starving. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a great evening. And this is Bronte, and I'm signing off.